we jumping right in. I'm gonna ask you guys a question right off the bat. Off the bat, are you just managing your team, or are you truly leading them to achieve the impossible? This is a question I ask a lot of times. So just imagine yourself being the architect of change. And I'm not just talking about a builder of structures. Think about it as the architect. That's why in this video, we're going to explore the transformative power of leadership that goes beyond the ordinary. I'm saying we're going to really just dive into the heart of transformational leadership. So I've talked to you about different styles of leadership, and this is one we're going to cover today that I really am a big fan of. What I like to think of with transformational leadership at its core, it is all about creating that compelling vision that inspires your team to transcend. You know, they have to excel and stretch their limitations, but it's also about empowering them to achieve more than they ever thought they could actually do. So that's why I always like to say, have those stretch goals. How do you stretch your team without letting them break? So let's break it down first. We'll break down the key elements that really set transformational leaders apart from other leaders. So we'll start with the inspirational motivation portion. And there's a theory I kind of like to think of, like the lighthouse vision. So think of your vision, the way you think and how you see things, as a lighthouse. So you're guiding your team through crazy weather and stormy seas. But look, it's not just about setting goals, because now it's about illuminating the why behind those goals. So again, your vision is the lighthouse. When it's dark and stormy, you and your vision is responsible for guiding the ship of people through those rough waters. Really put that into perspective. You are responsible for that. So when your team understands the purpose, then they're going to be driven by more than just tasks and action items. They're going to actually be driven by a shared mission. So I specifically bring that topic up because I've definitely seen this a lot. I've seen a lot of, compelling, motivative leaders that are able to transform those people around them based on their vision. So the next thing that I'm going to jump into from there is just having that intellectual stimulation. You have to think of yourself as like an innovation incubator or a think tank, right? Where you really cultivate that environment. You have to build an environment where ideas are seeds, and your team is the incubator. You have to challenge the status quo, push the limits. You have to encourage experimentation, but at the same time, it's going to be important to create a safe space for creativity, because it is all about fostering a culture where every voice is going to be heard and every idea is going to be valued. That doesn't mean you take every idea and every voice and implement it, but make sure that they are heard. And you have to do that by encouraging your people, your team, your followers, your customers to think outside of the box. Remember, plant the seeds, have the incubator. Next, I'm going to say individualized consideration. So that's that tailored compass I mentioned in another video before. Like, how do you recognize that each team member is going to be a unique guiding compass, but they're going to need personalized guidance? So you have to provide tailored support and mentoring to help them navigate their journey. You have to understand them. And then that's when things start working. So think about having your regular one-on-one meetings and just like those personalized feedback sessions. How do you make your team feel valued and motivated through those sessions? You don't just go in there and bash them and say what they're doing wrong. You have to really dig deep and ask the why behind the why, behind the why, behind the why, behind the why, and keep going. And that's how you learn about them. That's how you provide that individualized support to your team. You have to think about the impact of transformational leadership because it's going to continue to extend so far beyond individual achievements, even though they are cornerstone to making things happen. But what it does is it creates a powerful ripple effect throughout your organization. So really get to know your people. Really make sure that your vision is clear, even when things are dark and stormy, because then you're going to also have to learn how to enhance the organizational performance. And this is where I think of things like, I call it the symphony of success. Like, do you imagine that your team is a symphony where everybody plays a different instrument. But if you really think of it, if you ever been to a musical or a symphony, you understand that like every instrument, every person is vital. So transformational leadership is going to be the conductor. You conduct the symphony. You make sure everyone plays in harmony, and then you drive that significant improvement in productivity. It's just like a sports team. You have your power forward, your shooting guard, all the above, but you have to coach them to work. So when employees or team members, they feel like they're actually a part of something, they're going to be a lot more inspired to achieve a lot more. I think, and on the flip side is when they don't feel like they're a part of something, it makes it a lot more difficult. Think about situations where you had someone on the team who really felt like they weren't a part of the team. Think about how hard it was to get them on track and help the rest of the team perform. And it's not that they're the weakest link, it's just that they don't feel like they are a part of the team. So you have to go understand your people. Do it with your family, understand your friends, your circle, and then start driving that innovation and change, because that is the catalyst for transformation. And like I said, in a world where change is literally the only constant, transformational leaders are going to act as the catalyst. They're going to spark that innovation, and they're going to drive transformation, hence the name, transformational leadership. Now, by encouraging creativity, which is a big thing, I think you have to really be able to encourage that creativity. And I don't mean like arts and crafts, I mean just like creative thinking. You also have to be open to new ideas. Don't let yourself be static and not be open to new ideas, because that's going to make it hard for you to stay ahead of the curve. So you have to think, okay, what are we trying this new? What are we willing to kind of like maybe dip our toes in that's not going to work, but it may work? Like that's how you got to drive innovation and change within your teams, within your household, within your friends, within your business, within your followers. Start encouraging them to do different things. Try new things, and then work on fostering engagement. I'll use the analogy of like the garden of commitment. That's what it is, right? You think of your team as a garden. So when you think of your team as a garden, where each person on the team is going to be a valuable plant. So you have a garden full of plants. Transformational leadership is going to cultivate this garden, meaning you're going to foster an environment where your plants, i.e. employees, are truly engaged and committed. Does that make sense? Once they're engaged and committed, then everything becomes a garden. So an engaged employee is going to be your greatest asset, meaning that if you have a larger plant or a plant that's bearing great fruit, then that will be an asset to your garden. So that's going to lead to bigger success overall. Does that make sense? I'm hoping this makes sense to y'all. What I'm saying is you have to nurture your people, provide that vision for them. You have to become You don't have to, but it's important that you become transformational because, again, like I always say, this is really a journey of continuous self-improvement, continuous development. You have to dig deep. You have to dig deep. And just like I was saying in my other videos, you're going to have to really focus on self-awareness and enhance that. Enhance your emotional intelligence. If you don't know what that stuff is, go study it now. Get your inner compass calibrated. I'm trying to give y'all some game. You hear it? Get your inner compass calibrated. Calibrate your inner compass. And you do that by understanding and managing your emotions. Don't be no punk. Don't be no, you feel me? All you got to do is like really start being more reflective. Be more open to feedback. That's how you get better. Take feedback. What do they say, man? A hater is going to give you feedback. But it's about how you take it in. If you take it as hate, then you're not going to really hear it, but take it as feedback, and then you can enhance yourself. And that comes from emotional intelligence. And then you go build those strong relationships. You go navigate the complexity of life and leadership, all of that. And leadership. Did I say leadership or leadership? I don't know. But what I meant is you're going to do both. There's going to be some leadership that you finna really get into and leadership that you're about to dive into. Again, lean into things like that. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the blueprint for success, which is really just being able to craft that like direction and map it out. You got to be able to develop a compelling vision that's going to align. It has to make sense with your team and your business and your organization's values and aspirations. So you see how everything's coming together? Like, to get your team's value and aspirations, you have to be able to communicate vision effectively. But you have to do that by learning who they are. And in order to learn who they are, you have to have self-awareness and know who you are. So you can ask the questions that you need to ask to learn who they are. And that comes from effective communication and influence, which is the bridge of connection. Really think about it. That is the bridge of connection, is effective communication and relationship building, all that. And that takes skills. It ain't easy. I'm not gonna lie, it's not easy, because you gotta, like I talked about in the other bit, you go watch my other videos, man. Active listening, things like that. Don't just speak, being empathetic, clearly articulating your ideas. All of that is why we are here right now. Build trust, build influence. I've been giving y'all the game. Y'all not soaking it up though, man. That's the problem. You're not applying this game yet because y'all just skimming through it and seeing X, Y, and Z. But once this is gonna land for the right people. And when this lands and you start achieving those business goals, and you're gonna come back and be like, hey, BR Green did it again. I'm telling you, that's how you do it. You got to create that work culture where everyone feels valued. You are valued. You're appreciated for watching this. And you're going to get the game regardless. But you got to be able to contribute your best and help your people contribute their best. Embrace these principles. I'm telling you, take these in. Take these principles in, and you will become the architect of change. You will build a future where your team actually achieves the impossible, where you stretch them. Now, I'm going to keep this sweet, short, and simple. For your homework this week, all I want you to do is just identify one area, just one, that's simple, where you can apply transformational leadership principles, and then write it down. If you really want to take it to the next level, develop a plan to implement that change, and then track your progress. That's what I want you to do. That being said, you have to remember that you do have the power to transform